Hi, everyone. It's a huge privilege to be talking to you today. It would have been really, I was looking forward to, come in person and attend my first ever, conference, the physical conference, but who would have thought that it will turn out to be a virtual conference. But let's make the best out of it. I'm really pleased that I was invited to share the story of English Tea Shop with like-minded people like you. I'm, really looking forward to a great chat. English Tea Shop is an organic tea business based out of a small organic farming platform. We were founded by killing a traditional tea business based out of a commonly shared auction platform for the very reason that the centuries-old sourcing model had not changed people's lives, to date as we speak. An English Tea Shop was found as an answer to that, to challenge this traditional sourcing model on a creating shared value platform with the weave to uplift people all the way from small farms where we source our organic ingredients from to the lovely people of English Tea Shop who pack them in our brand and to customers in over 50 countries. Having founded in 2010 on this creating shared value format, a little bit about the creating shared value principle. CSV, as it's better known, talks about creating sustainable relationships between society and environment and the business. So it's all about finding a long-term commitment in building the society in a way that the society's success will result in the business's success, and you kind of create a virtuous cycle. Having run that first phase of operations with our small organic farmers, committing ourselves to their development for well over 4 years, I got exposed to a program in the Harvard Business School, the Owner President Management Program. It was a 3-year program where we do the course in campus 1 month and then come back and kind of implement and then go back the next year. After the end of the first year, the talent management, Professor Boris Groisberg, gave us a list of recommended readings. And out of about 25 odd books, one of the books had this crazy name, Great Game of Business. And I bought all of them. And then, once I saw them all for very obvious reasons, when I look back at the whole thing now, I picked the Great Game of Business. I think it was for the name, because I knew there was a lot of connection between sport and business. But when I, opened the book and, kind of skimmed through the first few pages, I realized that it was talking about something that was very close to our hearts, because in a way we had opened the book with our supplier stakeholders and other partners of the business to create that win-win relationship and to, show that our brand was radically transparent, ethical, and authentic. And I had a feeling, what Jack was talking about when, when you open the book, when you share the numbers, when you learn the numbers together, when you analyze the numbers together, I was kind of hoping that, he had an answer to create shared value within the business. I think most people that I've, engaged with, practitioners, the problems they faced at the initial phase, the typical problems we probably didn't face because of our creating shared value format. Because people have that natural inclination to, look out for sustainable partnerships. So opening the book wasn't a surprise to them. But, all through, when I read the book, I was thinking, okay, this is a story that we are so, it is so close to our hearts. When I go out and talk about the Great Game now, I consider, I tell people it's a bit like Marmite, because you got to have, either you like it or you completely hate it. And to like it, you got to have leaders who are, who think like Jack Stack. And also you should have a business model that should run better when people are empowered. So there were, little hints in that book and in our own thinking that we were it was a perfect partnership. So when I presented, I didn't face the typical issues of people getting confused as to why we should open the book. That I don't think we had any one person in the senior or middle management questioning us that. I guess the only challenge I faced or the leadership team faced at that phase was, I think we kind of oversimplified things. And we thought, okay, this is going to be an easy cakewalk because we've done this hard work of establishing relationships with unknown people, the small organic farmers, not only in Sri Lanka, but in 20 other countries, through a creating shared value platform. So openness was nothing for us. We go out to the market and say that everything about this business, our pricing models, our relationships, our investments are known to the whole value chain. So it was a easier choice for us to share the numbers with our team. But the real problem was we were regretting as to why we didn't start with that. People like us who built a brand around authenticity, ethicality, and openness took 5 years to realize. And it was Professor Boris Greisberg who kind of opened our eyes to this, to create a template and to have a structure to open the book. But I think in our case, it took us a good year or so for us to understand that the book doesn't talk of open book reporting, but it was rather a whole, management philosophy, a framework, something that had to be continuously improved on. So it was that adoption of the framework which came easy. But I think it was laborious work from there onwards when we realized that, there was a lot of work we had to do within to change the way we read financial statements, we taught things to people. And it was, I think, a crowdsourced sort of effort in realizing, that conversion from open book reporting to open book management was very crowdsourced. Adopting the game, in a country like ours, of course, we're talking of a business that is spread out across UK to Sri Lanka, but majority of our employees are based out of Sri Lanka, and that's where all of our manufacturing happens. It's, I wouldn't be exaggerating when I say that this is a relatively unknown domain. I think a lot of us practice open book reporting, at least the larger corporations do, for statutory reasons and for many other obvious purposes. But in my business life, I hadn't heard of a business our size and a privately held business voluntarily opening the books, knowing very well that when you open the book to your employee, you got to do that knowing very well that there is nothing to hide to anyone in your value chain or to the society at large. Because if you have things to hide, and if data is your competitive edge, if financial numbers is your competitive edge, then how do you open the books to your employee? Because it might only take one employee who leaves to, bear open not only the numbers, but all the entire business story, the model. So that's one, I don't think that was ever a challenge to us, but I consider that to be a challenge for many other businesses in our part of the world. But having said that, I've seen the same excuse in other parts of the world as well. But here's the thing, our country, openness and transparency is not openly incentivized. Some would argue to the extent that the opposite of that is incentivized. So why would a business, open your books? And I would go to the extent of saying that sometimes opening your book too much might really threaten the existence of your business. But these are pretty excuses to my mind, because the power of the game is really is based on the power of people. Because you can transform your business, you can convert it upside down. The cultural transformation that English Tea Shop achieved was phenomenal. So I don't take the excuse, or I don't accept the excuse that different countries pose different threats. Yes, probably your implementation will be different. Probably the way you convince people and inspire people might be different, because your leadership might be different. Your middle management might work on different cultural values. But I guess the benefit is still the same across the world. But I can go on record and say that in our part of the world, openness is not very much incentivized and encouraged. So there is that inherent challenge that you got to beat. But compared to the benefits that you reap, that challenge is absolutely nothing. The game really made a impact on everyone's lives, especially in the way they understood business. And when we say we've converted ourselves into a business of business people, there is a number of examples from that early 2015 when we launched the game to date. And one of the first, I think, success stories is a clear example to that very fact. When we launched in 2015, we probably spent about 2 months, doing the financial statement game, doing a unique budgeting game. And then, we really started teaching people the financial statements, developing the scorecards, the KPIs, the critical numbers. So the financial year that began on the 1st April, began with a strong sense of purpose, and we had a critical number, three critical numbers to work on, and obviously we had several scenarios that we had planned out for the year. We ended that financial year, the first full financial year where we played the game, with a 31% increase in productivity. That really came out of we don't know where. And when you look back at the story, everyone realized that it came out of a motivated set of employees, empowered people who were thinking and acting like business people. That year, people were paid 6 months salary as bonus, which was a record in the history of the business. The very next year, things weren't as great as the first year. There was a bit of a downturn, not only in the market, but in our own context. We had new challenges to battle. But the beauty is, we didn't even have to go in front of people and, tell them the reasons, because obviously they were better connecting with the business outcome and their own, benefits. So they had perfect understanding on that. And more than that, what surprised us most was the fact that people were interpreting business and people were finding the reasons, the causes, and were fighting against the causes. And, we turned around yet again, within less than 12 months, we were back into our normal growth rates and profitability rates and, improving on all the other KPIs and metrics that we set ourselves to achieve. So I guess it is a story of really converting people. And, when you look back at the 5 years, we have hundreds of stories of people using their knowledge to really challenge themselves to face challenges better and to make our outcomes far greater than we could have ever had achieved in normal circumstances. We had a little bit of coaching assistance from Rich Armstrong starting this year on few fronts, like polishing up our mini games approach, working on our high involvement planning, and also forward forecasting. I guess we got to revisit our critical numbers come 2021. We did a revamp for COVID, a quick revamp of our critical number, which I think really helped people focus on the immediate problems. But as we go on, I think we will have to look at the midterm and long term direction. So it's a case of maybe making the game even more profound now that we realize that the best of the game was seen by us during COVID. I guess we got to really ramp up certain things and play the game even better. We meet different kinds of entrepreneurs, and they have different kinds of challenges. But when you look at their context, I think it's their worries and their concerns are quite similar. For this game to be successful, I think the leader needs to buy in totally. This is not a process that you can implement. You can get your middle management to implement without your blessings. So the leader needs to not only give their blessing, but you need to fully own it as well, at least at the initial phase. Walk through the entire process, be involved. And I think that is very, very important because then, you should show real commitment. The more involved you are creating a great future for everyone around us. The second thing, I guess, is you got to drive out the fear from the middle management that this, concept or opening the books and making everyone else business people doesn't affect their power or control or career prospects. It only makes life better for everyone. And your job roles change, evolve, improve. It's natural. It's one thing to say that you got to do open book management. It's a completely different thing to present a book, a model, a series of books, and to show how it is done, starting with why it is done. I can't tell you how attached we are to this concept, because of the way it has created a framework for us. It's a holistic framework. So I still struggle to justify as to why open book management is not adopted. I would go to the extent of saying that this is the only way a business can be successful for the long term.